here. My brother Dan and I were like James and John, the sons of thunder. We were ready to do whatever God called us to do. James got taken out early as a martyr, and John survived into old age. I don't know if that's going to be it for Dan and I, but Dan didn't get taken out as a martyr except for the martyring of COVID. I don't know about anybody else, but I have lost my trust in the federal government and all the programs that they do, especially the health programs. When they have the power to alter food for our children at school, when they have the power to force someone to get a shot that's not been proven, that destroys their life with no ramifications, forget it. I'm not trusting them anymore. When the only response when you say, why are you doing this? And their response is, because I said so. Forget it. I don't need your help. Get out of my life and stop telling me what to do. But we know better. No, you don't. You've got ideals, and when you're proven wrong, you go, oh, sorry, let's try this. No, let's not. I'm tired of trying your way. Leave me alone. That sounds so much like a libertarian. Except I've looked into the Libertarian Party. They have gone wackadoodle off the deep end. So I just listen for people who sound like they are where I want to be. And I vote for them. I still won't trust the establishment. Even if we had 100% conservative Republicans controlling the House and Senate and the judiciary and the executive, even if we had it all, I wouldn't trust the government. Because I worked for the federal government for 20 years, and one thing I can tell you is the people that are running our federal government, 95% of them shouldn't be, because they're incompetent, or they're crazy, or they're controlling. I'm done with my rant. Let's get started. Rudder says, what kind of books do cars read? Autobiographies. All right. Well, YouTube heard my rant, so I don't know if I'll soon be kicked off or not. We'll find out. Nonetheless, we're going to be doing something a little different today than what the title said. We are going to be reading 2 Kings, but we already read that. But we're going to read 2 Kings at double speed, which means it's going to be about 3.5 minutes. And then we're going to slow down and go to 2 Kings 20. Because that's new. This is a rehash, and you really need what's going on in chapter 19 to be able to understand what's going on in 20. But to rehash 19 quickly, in case it's too fast for you to hold on to, is King Hezekiah gets sick, and he prays that God would keep him alive, and God said, okay, I'm going to give you another 15 years. And in that 15 years, his son is born. And that's where we're going to leave it until we get to chapter 20.
Second Kings 19. And it came to pass, when King Hezekiah heard it, that he rent his clothes, and covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of the Lord. And he sent Eliakim, which was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests, covered with sackcloth, to Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz. And they said unto him, Thus saith Hezekiah, This day is a day of trouble, and of rebuke and blasphemy, for the children are come to the birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. It may be the Lord thy God will hear all the words of r+usa, whom the king of Assyria his master hath sent to reproach the living God, and will reprove the words which the Lord thy God hath heard. Wherefore lift up thy prayer for the remnant that are left. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah. And Isaiah said unto them, Thus shall ye say to your master, Thus saith the Lord, Be not afraid of the words which thou hast heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. Behold, I will send a blast upon him, and he shall hear a rumour, and shall return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So r+usa returned, and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish. And when he heard say of Tirhakah, king of Ethiopia, Behold, he is come out to fight against thee, he sent messengers again unto Hezekiah, saying, Thus shall ye speak to Hezekiah king of Judah, saying, Let not thy God in whom thou trustest deceive thee, saying, Jerusalem shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria. Behold, thou hast heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by destroying them utterly, and shalt thou be delivered? Have the gods of the nations delivered them which my fathers have destroyed, as Gozan and Haran, and Rezeph, and the children of Eden, which were in Thelasar? Where is the king of Hamath, and the king of Arpad, and the king of the city of Sepharvaim, of Hena and Iva? And Hezekiah received the letter of the hand of the messengers, and read it. And Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord, and spread it before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord, and said, O Lord God of Israel, which dwellest between the cherubims, thou art the God, even thou alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. Thou hast made heaven and earth. Lord, bow down thine ear, and hear. Open, Lord, thine eyes, and see. And hear the words of Sennacherib, which hath sent him to reproach the living God. Of a truth, Lord, the kings of Assyria have destroyed the nations and their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire. For they were no gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore they have destroyed them. Now therefore, O Lord our God, I beseech thee, save thou us out of his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that thou art the Lord God, even thou only. Then Isaiah the son of Amoz sent to Hezekiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, That which thou hast prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria, I have heard. This is the word that the Lord hath spoken concerning him. The virgin, the daughter of Zion, hath despised thee, and laughed thee to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem hath shaken her head at thee. Whom hast thou reproached and blasphemed? And against whom hast thou exalted thy voice, and lifted up thine eyes on high, even against the Holy One of Israel? By thy messengers thou hast reproached the Lord, and hast said, With the multitude of my chariots I am come up to the height of the mountains, to the sides of Lebanon, and will cut down the tall cedar trees thereof, and the choice fir trees thereof, and I will enter into the lodgings of his borders, and into the forest of his Carmel. I have digged and drunk strange waters, and with the sole of my feet have I dried up all the rivers of besieged places. Hast thou not heard long ago how I have done it, and of ancient times that I have formed it? Now have I brought it to pass, that thou shouldst be to lay waste fenced cities into ruinous heaps. Therefore their inhabitants were of small power, they were dismayed and confounded. They were as the grass of the field, and as the green herb, as the grass on the housetops, and as corn blasted before it be grown up. But I know thy abode, and thy going out and thy coming in, and thy rage against me, because thy rage against me and thy tumult is come up into mine ears. Therefore I will put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back by the way by which thou camest. And this shall be a sign unto thee. Ye shall eat this year such things as grow of themselves, and in the second year that which springeth of the same. And in the third year sow ye and reap, and plant vineyards, and eat the fruits thereof. And the remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall yet again take root downward, and bear fruit upward. For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant, and they that escape out of Mount Zion. The zeal of the Lord of hosts shall do this. Therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, He shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shield, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it, for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake. And it came to pass that night, that the angel of the Lord went out, and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 180,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. So Sennacherib king of Assyria departed, and went, and returned, and dwelt at Nineveh. And it came to pass, as he was worshipping in the house of Nisroch his god, that Adramelech and Sharezer his sons smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia. And Esarhaddon his son reigned in his stead.
Second Kings 20. In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death. And the prophet Isaiah the son of Amoz came to him and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Set thine house in order,
we've also done 20, so
or
we're
thou
going to
shalt
go on
die,
to 21
and not live.
as soon as we're going to double.
Then he turned his
speed this
face
as
to the
well.
wall, and prayed unto the Lord, saying, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth, and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. And it came to pass, afore Isaiah was gone out into the middle court, that the word of the Lord came to him, saying, Turn again, and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up into the house of the Lord. And I will add unto thy days 15 years, and I will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake. Then Isaiah said, Take a lump of figs. And they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, What shall be the sign that the Lord will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of the Lord the third day? And Isaiah said, This sign shalt thou have of the Lord, that the Lord will do the thing that he hath spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees, or go back 10 degrees? And Hezekiah answered, It is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, nay, but let the shadow return backward 10 degrees. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto the Lord, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward, by which it had gone down in the dial of Ahaz. At that time, Baruch-Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and a present unto Hezekiah, for he had heard that Hezekiah had been sick. And Hezekiah hearkened unto them, and showed them all the house of his precious things, the silver, and the gold, and the spices, and the precious ointment, and all the house of his armor, and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house, nor in all his dominion, that Hezekiah showed them not. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah, and said unto him, What said these men, and from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, They are come from a far country, even from Babylon. And he said, What have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, All the things that are in mine house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not showed them. And Isaiah said unto Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Lord. Behold, the days come, that all that is in thine house, and that which thy fathers have laid up in store unto this day, shall be carried into Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah unto Isaiah, Good is the word of the Lord which thou hast spoken. And he said, Is it not good if peace and truth be in my days? And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah, and all his might, and how he made a pool and a conduit, and brought water into the city, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and Manasseh his son reigned in his stead.
That last line of Hezekiah, is it not good if peace and truth be in my days? This echoes what Benjamin Franklin is attributed to saying, Those that desire safety and peace deserve neither. War is tiring, especially a misguided war. But we, as the protectors of our people, need to not be tired of war. And those that say elsewise, we need to ignore. Now, there are good wars and bad wars. Like a lot of people will point to World War II fighting the Nazis and Imperial Japan. That was a good war because we were fighting Nazis and imperialists. And then they point to Korea is kind of a different story, but they point to Vietnam and go, oh, that was a bad war. And liberals have jumped on that and pointed to every war that we've been in, every conflict we've been in, as a bad war. The only reason Vietnam was a bad war is because liberals were allowed to get in the way. They prolonged what should have been a quick, decisive victory. And, oh, you can't go beyond this point. Oh, you can't go into there. You can't go here. And the enemy would go in there. Two things that came out of that. Number one, we told communist China and Russia, hey, you aren't going to get by with a contrition war. We're ready to defend liberty. And they found that the price they had to pay in Vietnam wasn't worth paying that same price anywhere else. That's why we didn't have to deal with the Khmer Rouge and we didn't have to, because it wasn't an open war. It was a different kind of warfare going on, and it was more coercive. I think the next war that we had to deal with was Grenada, which was that the Cubans were trying to take over the island of Grenada. I think it was the Cubans. I know it was communists. And Ronald Reagan said no. And what came out of that is that we got to test some of our new stuff. Some of the stuff that we were like, okay, this is cutting edge. We need to make sure it works before we go big time. And after that is when Gorbachev came to the negotiating table, because he saw that conventional warfare wasn't going to work anymore. And then we went into Panama and took out a cocaine dealer, who the rumor is after he got in prison, he got saved in it. And it's possible. Noriega. It's possible that he got saved. He changed his tune, that was for sure. And then we went into the first Gulf War. And we stopped Saddam Hussein's forces from expanding, because they would have gone into Saudi Arabia. And at the time, he had one of the strongest armies in the world. He had been buying up tanks from Brazil, and everybody was buying Brazil's tanks. And what's interesting is, we went in there and bomb, they're done. The tank industry for Brazil dried up. Nobody wanted that tank because they knew we could go in and blow it up. And I'm starting to hear people talk about that we armed Iran at this time. The Iran-Contra. That was conventional weapons. That was M16s. Any major military weapons that they had were, one, supplied by the Russia and China, or number two, were leftover stuff from when the Shah was in charge. My memory doesn't. I gotta check this about Iran-Contra. Okay, so just a quick commercial. We were trading arms to Iran because Hezbollah in Lebanon had 7 American hostages, and we were trying to get those hostages freed. And in part of the contract, we were going to use those funds to finance the arming of the Contra rebels. Now, was it the smartest deal? I don't know. I think those 7 hostages got freed, so I bet they're glad it happened. And it did get some weapons to some people who were supporting the United States against communists. But that was 40 years ago. So the weapons they've got right now, they're either 40 years old or they're Soviet, not Soviet, Russian and communist Chinese weapons. So don't let anybody tell you that we weaponize them with Iran-Contra. That's malarkey, and they know it. So then, when we went to Iran, Afghanistan, then we went to Iraq, and when we went into those, everybody, Democrats and Republicans, all thought it was a good idea. Because we were still hurting from 9/11. Despite all the stupid naysayers of that it was an inside job by George Bush, those people, you can write them off right then and there because they're stupid. Just flat out stupid. So now we're dealing with Iran. Back in 1979, Iran took Americans hostages. Hostage. And they mistreated them, injured them, and just absolutely were horrible to our hostages. And Jimmy Carter did nothing. Ronald Reagan comes into office, and they're like, here, take them. We don't want to mess with you. They knew that if they didn't release those hostages, Ronald Reagan was going to send everything he could into Iran to take out everything he could. But instead, for 47 years, we've had wishy-washy presidents that have not. Ronald Reagan, the army when Ronald Reagan got it was in terrible shape. I mean, it was utterly destroyed. Discipline was terrible. And half of them were high as a kite. We had the numbers, but we didn't have the people that we needed. Has it gotten back to that? I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I haven't been involved in about 10 years. But I can tell you that poor leaders make poor armies. And I think that we're getting things ship-shape again. So is our attacks on Iran a good thing? You know what? It's paybacks for 47 years ago. And for the bullying they've been doing for 47 years. So I'm okay with it. But this idea of it's good if peace and truth be in my days, what he was saying is, hey, whatever happens to my kids, I don't care. As long as right now I don't have to deal with war. I'm telling you, if you don't deal with bad guys in a violent way, they will become stronger and more violent. Never sacrifice peace for safety, for freedom. The right answer to deal with bad guys is not to negotiate peace. The right answer is to take them out and make them regret and make sure nobody else ever tries to do anything to us. That's the way you deal with bad guys. That was too much of a rant. Let's refocus here. Let's read chapter 21. Now, the thing about chapter 21 is it's about his son who when King Hezekiah died, it was 15 years after God prolonged his life, and his son took the throne at 12. And let's read what happened.
2 Kings 21. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. For he built up again the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed. And he reared up altars for Baal, and made a grove, as did Ahab king of Israel, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served them.
I just saw your note about r+usa. There is a channel on YouTube that's all dedicated to the things that r+usa did. One of the guys that went to my church back in DC was originally a r+usa sniper and got hired by the CIA to be a sniper. So, yep, I absolutely know about him, but I don't talk about him much because I'm not sure how much of that has been declassified. But it's out there, whether it's declassified or not, and it usually is that the guys are so old now that they're like, the youngest ones are going to be 70 years old. They're like, I'm going to die soon. What's the CIA going to do to me anyway? What? I don't care. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But yeah, the r+usa guys were something else.
And he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, In Jerusalem will I put my name. And he built altars for all the host of heaven in the 2 courts of the house of the Lord. And he made his son pass through the fire, and observed times, and used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. And he set a graven image of the grove that he had made in the house, of which the Lord said to David, and to Solomon his son, In this house, and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen, out of all tribes of Israel, will I put my name forever. Neither will I make the feet of Israel move any more out of the land which I gave their fathers, only if they will observe to do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law that my servant Moses commanded them. But they hearkened not. And Manasseh seduced them to do more evil than did the nations whom the Lord destroyed before the children of Israel. And the Lord...
I want to stop here for a second. God in his long suffering he was like, look, you've done all this stupid stuff. You've offended me in every way possible. Judgment is coming. But God in his long suffering, mercy and grace, he says, look, if right now you turn around and start serving me, don't worry about that stuff. It won't come to pass. And Manasseh and the people looked at God and went, meh, whatever. We're going to keep doing things the way we do. We don't need you, God. And God's saying, okay, I gave you the best chance possible. And you ignored it. You spit in my face. Judgment's coming. And we do the same thing. God says, look, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Look, if you stop right now, I will heal everything. And we don't. We keep going. And God says, okay, I need to take you out. You're besmirching the name of Christ. I need to take you out.
The Lord spake by his servants the prophets, saying, Because Manasseh king of Judah hath done these abominations, and hath done wickedly above all that the Amorites did which were before him, and hath made Judah also to sin with his idols. Therefore thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Behold, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that whosoever heareth of it, both his ears shall tingle. And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria, and the plummet of the house of Ahab. And I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I will forsake the remnant of mine inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies. And they shall become a prey and a spoil to all their enemies. Because they have done that which was evil in my sight, and have provoked me to anger, since the day their fathers came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Now the rest of the acts of Manasseh, and all that he did, and his sin that he sinned, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Manasseh slept with his fathers, and was buried in the garden of his own house, in the garden of Uzzah, and Amon his son reigned in his stead. Amon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Meshullemeth, the daughter of Haruz of Jotbah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his father Manasseh did. And he walked in all the way that his father walked in, and served the idols that his father served, and worshipped them. And he forsook the Lord God of his fathers, and walked not in the way of the Lord. And the servants of Amon conspired against him, and slew the king in his own house. And the people of the land slew all them that had conspired against King Amon. And the people of the land made Josiah his son king in his stead. Now the rest of the acts of Amon which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And he was buried in his sepulchre in the garden of Uzzah, and Josiah his son reigned in his stead.
Oh, I just went on a rant, and it's probably good because it was not a rant that you needed to hear, but it was something I needed to say. Thanks, and have a great day.